Welcome to the SWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the SWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. And we're joined here again with Hendra, who was in a previous episode. He's our cybersecurity guru, and we'll ask him a bunch of stuff about mentorship and starting a job. And what topic that I think we want to cover this session is to talking about now that you've got a job, now what? Right. So, Hendra, not recently, but has transitioned from a long career within university and in his career path into a new role. And it's been probably like a year and a half now. But if we can step back or think about kind of the first kind of 30, 60, 90 days that you were there, like what did you do kind of week one, and how did you put a plan into action in order for you to kind of set yourself up for success during those first few days on your job?
Well, basically, when I started, it was not easy. It's just like any other transition. When you move from one job to another, usually you find out that there are so many things coming at you at the same time, and I would say it's like drinking from the fire hose. But at the same time, you are all excited and you want to do well. I found out the first week I was a little bit overwhelmed, but then I'm lucky I got a few close colleagues, and it happens that the organization that I move into are very good at supporting new employees. So that's one of the bonus point for me, and I think I'm as fortunate that I got that. But it's also important that you have a framework or you have a strategy on dealing with different phases in when you get a new job. I call that, I understand that there's always an onboarding process, which is officially from the company that you join itself. But it's also good that you have something at the back of your pocket that you can use to make sure that your onboarding process is more successful, and it's also fun for you to go through.
Yeah, and I understand that for some companies, like there's an expectation of building what's called like a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So kind of like month 1, 2, and 3, and figuring out like, well, what do you need to do? So if you can kind of walk folks through kind of your 30, 60, 90-day plan and what you did. And obviously these are for larger companies where the onboarding process is kind of set. And even for some executive level roles, that's part of the interview process. You actually have to create your 30, 60, 90-day plan to see how you would do it, because they want to see whether you're coming in with hitting the ground running, so to speak, or if you're just gonna like I don't know, figure stuff out over the next little while, right? But if you can walk folks through your plan, I think it's a good exercise for folks to start doing, whether they've are about to start or they've already started. Because if you haven't done these things, then you might want to go back and make sure some of this stuff is done as well.
Sounds good. So for me, the first 30 days are important, and I think what I did successfully, and I will also share what I didn't do as well as I thought I should do. So the first thing that I find really useful is to take note of everything that you think that will be useful in the future, and make sure that note is well organized and searchable. For example, if someone gives you a password for you to use on a system, you probably want to remember that properly and make sure it's safe in a secure manner. Because when you join a company, usually, especially if it's a large company, sometimes you have multiple password or multiple access, right? This is your phone and this is your access, and they'll give you likely a phone number. It's not, I don't think you can memorize it right away. So it's good to take note on what's your phone number, because you'll get asked often. And the second part is also, they will give you a bunch of cards, like potentially this is the access card, this is the printer's card, and all kind of stuff that you need to do, and you want to make sure that you organize that properly. So I took a lot of notes from that aspect, which I can always go back to if let's say if I forgot which system I need to access, then the note will come in handy. So that's one. And the other thing that I I find that I did well was I start to identify few key people which I think that they are important in helping me getting onboarded quickly. One of the most important person is the tech support. You really want to know how to contact tech support. Why? If because you typically sooner or later you will bump into a technical issues, whether you need a mouse, you need a keyboard, or some application on your desk, on your work computer is not working. So that is key. And typically, and sometimes you probably need access to a certain system that was not that was not done properly, and it's probably not anyone's fault. It's just that the people don't really understand what your role is, and suddenly in the after that you're given a task to do, and then you need access to a system, and usually the tech support person or the people who can get you access to tech support to make that happen uh, faster, and you can start to work on the task that you're assigned to do. And I think that's one person. What I find useful is also to start talking to your HR people or your HR person. This is not in your first 30 to 60, the first 90 days, but I think the HR person is someone you want to always be in touch with. I know that many people don't think that it's important, and I do think it's important. Let me tell you why. Because in my experience, the HR person is the one that will help you complete the paperwork. You don't want to be 2-3 years into the job and you know that when you enter the job there's a paperwork missing, right? And keep in mind that there will be there will be time where you need tax document. There will be time where you need to understand what your benefit is and all kind of administrative stuff. And usually HR person is the go-to person for you to understand all this stuff, especially in the first 30 days. But in a few years, I'm sure it's good to always maintain the relationship, because they are usually the people who can let you know if there's a new opportunity within the company itself. In my case, also, I got assigned a mentor, and it's tremendously useful. The mentor is not someone who will just tell you what to do, but it's someone you can ask all kind of questions. If you don't get assigned one, ask for one, because that is the person that you're going to ask, where is the washroom, what is the dress code, how do people usually communicate, where do you get your coffee. You will have a lot of you have to learn a lot about the office things that usually are not written in the onboarding process. Like, where do you get a paper clip, where do you pick up your printers, where do you pick up your printouts, and just pretty much a bunch of stuff. In my case, especially when we don't have a main office, we do have a central office, but at the same time, there are so many satellite offices. There are times where the meeting is at the other building, and this is where you want to know what is the best way to get to the building, and that's where you can ask your mentor. And the other thing is, let's say if there's a lunch party going on, or there's a big meeting, a town hall, and who usually the mentor is the person that you ask questions. And I would say, if you don't have one, ask for one. What do you That's all I have. Do you have anything to add, Luki?
Yeah, I would also add kind of admin assistants and office coordinators or things like that, people who make the office run. So definitely tech support, I would agree with that, because sometimes you lose something, you forget something, or you leave it at home for whatever, and to be able to quickly grab something or have someone that you can talk to can be a lifesaver for sure, and passwords and things like that for sure. HR, yeah, payroll benefits folks that can help you because something worked or didn't work, or you forgot to do this and that paperwork, then oftentimes knowing someone can help it. But the admin assistant, so kind of your bosses or the managing directors, admin or something like that. Because sometimes if you need to get in someone's calendar, knowing them would be great. Someone who roams around or manages the office, right? So where the supplies, where the things, oftentimes they'll be the ones letting you know what's happening around the office, which I think is great and needed. Um, and the way that I would approach that is just get to know them, stop off, have conversations. I like to, if I can, like bribe them in the sense that knowing their coffee preferences, and then once in a while, like grab them a coffee, a drink, a tea, whatever, and knowing the preference. Because if they don't like coffee, then make sure you get them the tea, and make sure you get the energy drink or whatever it is. Maybe chocolates or snacks or desserts or whatever. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it every day, but like once in a while, like once a season, once a quarter, or make sure to give them something for the holidays or whatever. I think can be such a nice gesture. The fact that you're thinking about them, and it goes a long way to building relationships and just your kind of stature within the office. So the sooner that you can kind of know the people's preferences and stuff like that, I think would be better. And yeah, would echo all of those things. And I think that's a lot of great advice. What do you do after kind of for the next like the 30 to get to your 60 and to get to your 90? What would you do?
To get to my 60, usually what I do, by that time, I assume that you would have understand the organizational structure a little bit. You should know who and who, like how many people are reporting to your managers, how many people are in your immediate department, and you should probably have met a few people outside of your department, and you should understand the roles of those people, what do they do, and what value they bring to the company, and how they can when you're going to engage them in whatever task that you are given or you're assigned to. Now, what I usually do is to by that time you should have 1 or 2 tasks assigned to you because you have been there for 30 days. Usually they are the easy tasks. And I would suggest that when you are completing the task, try not to do it quick, but to do it in a manner that will give you the most learning. Because a lot of people, when they join a company, when they say, okay, this is a task for you, they want to impress the manager or the boss. So they try to complete it as fast as possible, right? At that time, it's good if you can complete it as soon as possible, but it's better if you can take a little bit of a time given to you a few days later, because it's understandable if you cannot complete it in time, right? So the time given to you would be lenient, I would assume. So you use that time to the maximum by learning as much as possible about completing the task. Let's say the task is for you to actually summarize a document or an article, right? So instead of just summarizing the entire article, you probably want to go above and beyond for your own learning by potentially checking on the writing style or the people who would approve what are the best way to do it, who would you talk to, how many people you should check with. So try to understand the entire ecosystem that is necessary to complete the task. A lot of people just solely focus on at the end goal. They don't really spend a lot of time in the journey, because I think the journey itself is important, because they will allow you, they'll give you a lot of understanding that will make your next task easier to complete.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not sure if I explained it properly, so I guess you can probably chime in a little bit, Luki.
yeah, it makes sense. So it reminds me of a time when early in my career that the partner basically asked me to help him book travel to one of the conferences that they have. So there's like an annual conference in Las Vegas, and basically all I really needed to do is kind of make sure that we had the kind of like tickets booked, like flight and a hotel, right? So that's essentially what I was asking for, and I could have done that in, I don't know, like a couple minutes, maybe an hour or something like that, right? But I kind of took a step back and thought, you know what, like let's pretend that one day I would go to this conference, which at some point I wanted to. So what would I want to do? So I actually took a look at the itinerary, and it was like a 3-day conference. I think it was 3-day or multi-day conference. And basically what I did is I planned out their schedule to say, you know what, there's all these different breakouts and whatever, and we actually have some clients that are going into this one, and ones that would be interested here. So I think you should go to this one instead of that one. And then I actually put some recommendations on one of like the review sites on like good places to eat and places to go afterwards that were kind of legal and appropriate. You might want to take a look at some shows and things like that, because it is Vegas, right? So they can do what they do, but it put it together this itinerary, and instead of taking 1 hour, it probably took me 4, right? So a little longer than it was. And then he wasn't asking for it right away, and he at any time during the day, and I presented to him, I think the next day, and he's like, wow, like this is amazing. Because like I just thought you'd book the flight and the hotel for us, right? And we ended up all this, and that really left a mark on them to show that, hey, you give this person something relatively trivial and somewhat menial even, but they're able to do all that. So what other things could you give him that he might actually enjoy and want to do, and what could you do with that? So I think that set me up for a lot of good success in that respect. So I encourage folks to kind of play off that as well, but that's kind of from my experience. So
Wow, I have to say your example is way better than my example.
yeah, well, sometimes it is, but yeah, it's always the grass is greener type of thing. So what about for like the last 30? So from your 60 to your 90, what are some of the other things that you'd want to get through?
The last 30, typically, I would go back to the fact that maybe not in everyone's case. In many cases, the first 3 months or the 90 days are the probation era, right? The probation time, where they will decide whether you get to keep the job, or they will tell you, you're not the right fit for the company. So the last 30 days, I would use it to actually get some feedback. It's not in my case. I'm not sure it was in my case or not, but I just asked for feedback for the last 30 days. And typically now, by that time, I would assume that you have made a few friends, and you have gone for coffee a few times with your colleague or your people that you have identified. I think that is the best time for you to ask for feedback. Ask them relevant question. For example, if the same peer that you are doing pretty much the same task, ask about how you do. Like ask for an honest feedback, keeping in mind that sometimes it's not as easy to obtain that honest feedback. If they can give you an honest feedback, keep your ego aside, take it. Sometimes you probably disagree, but take it anyway, because sometimes you are not aware of your own shortcomings, right? And it's important. And this will allow you, this doesn't only, the benefit for doing that is not only for you to understand how well you are doing in the first 60 days, but at the same time, it sends a message to the person you ask for feedback, saying that you are coachable. I think that's more valuable than just getting the feedback. So by doing so, you achieve a few things that sometimes you are not aware of, or I wasn't aware of. The first thing is the message that I am coachable. So that means I'm willing to take some feedback, and I'm looking to grow, and that's important. The second piece is you actually respect this person enough to ask for his feedback or her feedback, because this person spent 60 days trying to answer all your questions, trying to stop what they are doing in the middle of trying to complete the task and helping you to get you up to the speed. So I think it's that's the least you can do, is to respect this person and ask for his feedback, right? The other things that sometimes will come as a surprise is it's very likely that your manager will go back and ask this person on his feedback on you, right? He'll say, "Hey, so and so, how is Hendra doing? What do you think? Do you think he's keeping up? Did you find that he has any challenge? What you want or what you're looking for is this person who has been mentoring you for the past 60 days to provide good feedback to the manager that hire you, right? So that is another benefit that I think we can get. Other than that, also ask your manager for feedback to see if he has anything to add. What is his observation? And one thing that I want to add, last but not least, I will take this from your tips, Luki, is to actually find a way to appreciate those people who have been helping you. So the tech support personnel, the admin people who run the office, and especially the mentors who you asked to get assigned to you or was assigned to you. Um, just find a way to appreciate their effort. Like you said, buy them a coffee, buy them tea, buy them donuts, or try to make sure that they feel that you appreciate their effort. That would be something that I share. Oh, one more thing, which I forgot to mention, is that typically in the first 3 months, you have to complete onboarding training, right? And make sure you get that done early, because usually it comes back and bite you if you don't do it. If you're too busy with something else, that is the one that it sounds it doesn't sound important, but then it's actually critical that you get it done.
Mhm.
So I guess that's all from me. Do you have anything else to add yourself?
Yeah, I think for me, what I'd encourage you to try to do is, as you're getting to know the folks around you, is figuring out how you can be of help to them, right? So there's your work that you want to make sure gets done, absolutely. But it's also being helpful to other people. One, it helps you get to know them a little bit more. It gets to help you understand their work and how it relates to yours. And then you're just helping them out, right? So it's in lieu of giving them a donut, right? Like taking some stuff off their plate can is usually a welcome. And obviously not to the point where they have to stop and teach you how to do it. But if there are things that you can do independently and just make it easier for them, then hey, I heard you mention blah 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 blah, so I decided to do it for you. Like, wow, it might have only taken you an hour, a half a day, or whatever, and it's your own time because you still got your own work. But if you can do that, like it leaves a lasting impression. And the last thing I'd probably add is to think about how you fit in the organization and what is your impact, because I find that's something that helps people from a sustainability perspective, where if you're doing the work and just the job and that's all you're doing, that helps for a while. But if you're going to truly understand, well, how do you help the company, how do you help the client, the end customer, who is really being helped by the work that you do, having and knowing that impact is essential in order to feel a little bit more kind of purposeful and having some fulfillment with what you do, versus it just having being a paycheck, right? Something that you do, right? So, and you probably won't get it on that last 30 days, but it's one where poke around and start exploring, like, where is my impact? And it might take you months or years to get to really understand that. But if you can start that journey, I think it would be helpful. So yeah, and then once you get there, then you can start looking beyond for your kind of longer term goals. What about beyond 3 months, like the 12-month, and then the 2-year, 5-year, whatever milestones. And we'll probably talk in a future episode on things like, well, now that you've been settled, like what about promotions and raises, and then how about different projects and things like that, and how do you get more settled into your job. So I think that was a lot of great and interesting feedback from you, Hendra. And yeah, hopefully you'll join us for another episode where we can chat a little bit more about jobs, careers, and life.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks, Hendra.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us on the SWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Lukidanu, Lukidanu, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.